Show, the Thursday edition of the program. Breaking news to start the show. Received the ping on my phone from a University of Virginia insider literally as the show was starting. Carla Williams has inked a contract extension of the 5-year variety. Most notably, her compensation, a 29% increase in compensation for the embattled Virginia athletic director. Carla Williams, a contract extension of 5 years and a 29% raise. Carla Williams now guaranteed compensation of $1,405,000 a year for an athletic director whose football program and men's basketball team, the top 2 revenue-generating sports in her athletic department, folks, struggling mightily. I'm going to ask the question on today's program: has Ron Sanchez, the interim basketball coach, lost total control of his team? The Ponies from Southern Methodist University, SMU, ladies and gentlemen, beat UVA at the John Paul Jones Arena at the buzzer with frankly a fantastic 3-point shot from SMU at the buzzer. It was heartbreaking to watch. It was a game Virginia should have won, and frankly speaking, it was a game Colleen Tyler, thank you for watching the program. It was a game that UVA should have won. Shaky coaching decisions, most notably pulling Sharma from the lineup and inserting a Tane Murray, a Sharma who had made 4 free throws in convincing fashion, and replaced with Tane Murray, who up until that point had only taken 11 free throws for the entire season. He bricks 2 free throws, and SMU steals a victory. Sanchez, shaky coaching decisions yesterday. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. We're going to talk a Jefferson Council story. 13% of faculty at the University of Virginia are afraid to talk or highlight or speak of their political beliefs, the party they align with, their ideologies, for fear of retribution. We're going to talk on today's show the Albemarle County Republican Party, John Lowry, a surprise resignation, an institutional leader for the Republican Party. Mr. Lowry has retired. In his place, guys, we will soon know. On the 18th, this Saturday, the Albemarle County Republican Party will elect a chair, an interim chairperson. And this interim chairperson will hold the role of leading the challenged and embattled Albemarle County Republican Party until March 2026. So more than a year, the interim chair will take the reins and lead this program. We will highlight who we think should be the chair, and we will highlight who we think should not be the chair, as many people are angling for this position. On today's program, we're going to talk, and Judah Wickhauer, I'm going to ask you in a matter of moments which headline is most intriguing to you. Assessments in Albemarle County are upticking again. On average, across the county, real estate reassessments, a 5.1% increase, with the most significant uptick in the Samuel Miller district. That 5th Street extended, that's your parents' district. The Redfields, yeah. Mosby Mountain, yeah. Oak Hill Farm, Villas at Southern Ridge, yeah. Mountain Valley Farm. That district over there has the most significant uptick. I believe it's over a 7% for that district, the Samuel Miller district. Jim Andrews' district. We'll talk about that today. Viewers and listeners, we work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is if you like and share the show. Help us spread the gospel, please. I'm going to talk Carla Williams and a contract extension that is absolutely shocking to me in a matter of moments. First, we'll give some love to Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. 60 consecutive years in business, 60-plus years in business. The Vermillion family went from one generation with Mr. and Mrs. Vermillion starting the company to a second generation, friend of the program, John Vermillion, owning and running it now, to a third generation, John's son, Andrew, with the reins of the family business. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply on East High Street. They are the trusted source for your sanitary supply, your pool needs, your above-ground pool needs. Support the businesses you want to see survive another 60 years. We'll talk Alamo. Deep Throat offers some clarity here. Alamo does not franchise. All the theaters are owned by corporate. The original owners of Alamo sold out to Sony, but I think the management stayed on. So Sony bought Alamo last year. Alamo and Sony are canning people left and right, Judah. at the corporate level, and at the ticket and server level. Ladies and gentlemen, significant layoffs for a movie theater that is very prevalent right here in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. The theater business has ridiculous challenges ahead of it. I'm going to ask you this question. We are already seeing Alamo laying people off. Violent Crown is on the brink of survival, on the brink of collapse. If you've been to the Stonefield, is that a Regal in Stonefield, J-Dubs?
Yeah.
If you've been to the Regal in Stonefield, you must see that the theaters are vacant. Half capacity is a good showing for theaters at the Regal in Stonefield. And if you've ever been there on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, they are completely empty with just a smattering of people in the seats. What happens if the 3 movie theaters collapse? What would replace what are clearly critically important anchor businesses for 3 very, very influential shopping districts? How does that impact the rents and the leases for the neighbors of the movie theaters? The neighbors of the theaters in Stonefield, in Fifth Street Station, in downtown Charlottesville, their rent structure, their lease structure is tied to the fact that a movie theater is adjacent or close to them. They are charged higher rents because of the draw of a movie theater, a draw that is clearly fizzling. Good night. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. Judah Wickhauer, which headline most intrigues you before I get to the Carla Williams story? Guys, giddy up and get ready. Judah Wickhauer, the headline you find fascinating.
Well, I always love reading what they've got cooking at the Jefferson Council. James Bacon is great, and I was extremely interested to read this article on his title. The woke scare is 4 times worse than the red scare.
13% of faculty in this Jefferson Council story. I want you to cite the source of where Bacon, the writer, gets this number from. 13% of faculty are afraid to talk about their politics on the job site for fear of retribution. We live in a world today where people, white-collar professionals, 6-figure earners, are terrified to talk about their politics for fear of personal and professional punishment and retribution. Judah Wickhauer, your thoughts?
I think it's interesting. He cites a survey from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, and he notes that, and I don't know where he gets the number for the Red Scare of the 1950s, but he says overall, more than a third of tenured and tenure-track faculty at 55 of the nation's most prestigious colleges and universities say they tone down their writing for fear of engendering controversy, and this is compared to 9% during the Red Scare in the 1950s. That's crazy in and of itself.
We'll unpack that on today's program. We'll use it as a springboard to talk who the Albemarle County Republican Party should elect as an interim chairperson this Saturday. But first, the lead of the show, Judah, one shot me, lower third on screen. Carla Williams, ladies and gentlemen, 5-year contract extension for Carla Williams. Some are applauding this news right now. Others, like me, are absolutely shocked, flabbergasted, dismayed, maybe even angry. Her contract now runs through May 2030. The contract was set to expire this May. Carla Williams is going to get a 29% pay increase with guaranteed compensation, ladies and gentlemen, for the embattled athletic director, now topping $1,400,000 annually. This is an athletic director whose 2 prime programs, 2 marquee teams, football and men's basketball are underachieving at levels that are historic underachievement for Virginia athletics. The men's basketball team last night falls to 8-9 overall and is in the cellar of the Atlantic Coast Conference after it blew a late game lead against the visiting SMU Mustangs. The second loss to the Ponies this year, a loss that certainly could be chalked up, certainly attributed to some terrible coaching decisions down the stretch by interim coach Ron Sanchez. Here's some things for you to consider tonight on the text thread with your friends or this weekend at the cocktail party with your family and your buddies. Carla Williams now as the athletic director that has $1.4 million in guaranteed compensation and another 5 years plus of runway on her contract through May of 2030 now, is going to lead the charge of hiring the men's basketball coach once this season is finally finished, and I think you may be able to put a fork in it right now. The only thing that's going to save this Virginia men's basketball team at this point is if it wins an ACC tournament title and then qualifies for the big dance from the automatic bid of winning the tournament championship. We clearly see a team that is a shadow of its former self, defensively, offensively, and identity-wise. This was a team that was supposed to score. It clearly is not doing that. Offensively challenged. And when you're offensively challenged, like Virginia basketball has been in years past, your defense better be damn good. Unfortunately, this year, that is not the case. So now Miss Williams is going to be entrusted with hiring the men's basketball coach and potentially the football coach. Tony Elliott has 1 year where he can prove that he can take a brand new program, a transfer portal reimagined program, and win with it. If Coach Elliott does not get to 6 wins this year, there's not a chance in HE double hockey sticks he gets back. And we learned a couple days ago, this is frankly common knowledge, but certainly broken down extremely well by Travis Wilburn on the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille Show, that if football and men's basketball are not performing at a successful clip with butts and seats and stadiums and arenas full, then the economic ecosystem we call Charlottesville and Albemarle County suffers mightily. The athletic director, Miss Williams, is not just picking a head coach for football and basketball. She is not just guiding the athletic department. In a lot of ways, she is one of the most influential people when it comes to the Charlottesville and Albemarle County and Central Virginia economies. When the football and basketball team are doing well, 60,000 people are at Scott Stadium 6 or 7 times a year. When the basketball team is doing well, you have 14,000 and change, 15,000 and change at the John Paul Jones Arena a dozen plus times a year. Ladies and gentlemen, you have half-filled arenas at the John Paul Jones Arena, and you have maybe 25,000 people at Scott Stadium. It is an economic catastrophe right now. And if you're just tuning into the program, the breaking news that you will see on every legacy and traditional media platform is Carla Williams getting a 5-year extension, a 29% raise. Judah Wickhauer is damn good at his job. 29% raises Judah Wickhauer is not getting, though. Who is getting 29% raises besides Craig Kent, the CEO of UVA Health, and Carla Williams, the athletic director of the University of Virginia?
Craig Kent.
Craig Kent got a $500K some raise, remember? We talked about it on the program. In fact, Craig Kent raise. I will Google. He's the top earner at the University of Virginia, interestingly. When you don't count the head football coach. So much to cover. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. The comments are coming in quickly. Kevin Higgins of Greenwood, his photo on screen. Who is responsible for filling the stands for football games? The AD. If it is, how the heck can an AD get a 29% raise with the base of 1.4 million people if the program is losing millions and millions of dollars? Great question. Kevin Yancey, Waynesboro. The University of Virginia is the only place I know where you can get a job, suck at that job, and get a contract extension and a raise.
Sign me up.
Good night. How many professional endeavors can you fail 7 times out of 10 and get a raise and keep your job? The only ones that I know of are weather forecasters, meteorologists, Professional baseball players who hit 300, they get contract extensions and raises, and evidently the athletic director of the University of Virginia. Holy bejeebus, that is significant breaking news. Happened literally as the microphones were going on right here on this fine and fair talk show. Like and share the show if you could do us that favor. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Olivia Branch, if we look at athletic director across the country and funds raised, we should not be surprised. Big money has come into the athletics during her time. Olivia Branch makes a fantastic point. The Queen of Keswick, her photo on screen. She makes a fantastic point. Carla Williams is a very good fundraiser. I appreciate that perspective, Olivia Branch. I very much applaud that perspective. She is fantastic at fundraising. I will also say that while she is fantastic at fundraising, she has struggled with her two marquee programs. And she is certainly not the gregarious, outgoing personality that you need in a 2025 digital age to be the face of the department. Who is the face of the Virginia Athletic Department right now? Viewers and listeners, who would you call the face of the Virginia Athletic Department right now? Probably you would say Brian O'Connor, the Virginia baseball team, since Tony Bennett has retired. Who else would you say is the face of the Virginia Athletic Department? So much to cover on today's show. Deep Throat, his photo on screen. On the salary of ADs and coaches, universities could afford to pay ridiculous amounts for these folks when your student athletes were basically slaves. Now in the NIL era, the only way to square the circle is to take back the rents the coaches and ADs were extracting. You can't pay them the same when they don't have free athletic labor. Damn good comment from Deep Throat. The Virginia Tech Athletic Department in the 2025-2026 athletic calendar year, they are committing to paying their student athletes $24.5 million over the course of the athletic year. I will say that again. The Virginia Tech Hokie Athletic Department in the 2025-2026 athletic calendar year is committed to paying its athletes, most specifically football, men's basketball, and women's basketball, $24.5 million across the athletic calendar year. To Deep Throat's point, it's not just offering scholarships and a little bit of stipend money to these players anymore. Now they're making buku bucks. Virginia Commonwealth University, a story broke last week in the Richmond Times-Dispatch. VCU Rams basketball players will be paid on average $384,000 per player. And as Rob Neal, his photo on screen, highlighted last week on the show, that also does not include the scholarships that they're being offered each year. So they're going to pay them on average. This is a mediocre basketball team, VCU in Richmond. On average, these guys will make $384,000 a year to work for 7 or 8 months, and then also be given a scholarship, the meal plan, and the stipend for travel. We are in a brave new world where amateurism is no more. We're in a brave new world where it's pay for play, where the athletes now have the leverage. And the point Deep Throat, one in the family, makes, if you're going to pay these athletic department heads and honchos this kind of loot, performance better justify. That's called return on investment. 5-year extension. My, oh my. Welcome to 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Two-shot Judah Wickower, weave you in the mix. Second, lower third on screen. 13% of UVA faculty are afraid to offer or announce or discuss or just, Judah, have a friendly conversation with their political beliefs and thoughts. Who, what, when, where, why from Judah Wickower. The Jefferson Council's The Who. Jim Bacon, the author, has put this out on their website. Give us the nitty-gritty, J-Dubs. The show is yours.
Well, Bacon cites the survey by Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression 3 times, over 3 times, 4 times, more than a third, 35% of tenured and tenure-track faculty, compared to 9% during the Red Scare of the 50s. These are, as mentioned, tenured and tenured-track faculty who feel unable to speak freely for fear of offending someone. That was, I think, 27%. 40% say they worry about damaging their reputations because, of course, you can damage your reputation for thinking something different than someone else.
If you don't know Judah, that was sarcastic. He was being facetious. I picked that up barely, and I'm sitting across from him. Not sure the viewers and listeners that are just listening to the audio picked that up. That was sarcasm there.
Yeah. UVA and Virginia Tech, both covered by the survey. Virginia Tech has 22% of the faculty members saying they hide their political beliefs from colleagues very often or fairly often. At UVA, it's 13. I was surprised.
Shocked it's not higher. Yeah. What's the number at Virginia Tech?
At Virginia Tech, it's 22%. This is people that say they hide their beliefs from colleagues often. Non-tenured faculty, who obviously enjoy less job security, are more scared than tenured faculty, so I'm sure the numbers are higher there. And this was a bit troubling. One professor at UVA told FIRE that when the university decided to install a DEI administrator, quote, "Our dean stated flatly and publicly that they wished they could do away with tenure protections and fire anyone who disagreed," unquote. Wow.
What does that remind you of? Kate Schartz, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for watching. David Varel and Nags Head, we love you. DV, OBX's finest. What does that remind you of?
What does that remind me of? Besides the Red Scare? People being terrified to openly state anything about their beliefs.
In the last 90 days, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen a culture at UVA Health where middle management was afraid to speak up.
Just 90 days?
They went on record with that anonymous letter signed by the physicians, the 128 physicians.
Yeah.
They went on record saying, we are seeing medical malpractice with medical charts being changed to maintain performance standards and rankings. Mm-hmm. We're being told to fraudulently bill patients. We're being told to upcharge. And if we do not do this stuff, we fear professional retribution. We may lose our jobs and may not get promotions within UVA Health if we don't change medical charts, make medical charts phony to maintain hospital rankings, to fraudulently bill patients to improve margin and make the system more money, and to charge patients for things we don't need. If we don't do this, we will not get promotions, we may lose our job, and we fear retribution from the C-suite and upper management. It got so bad that 128 anonymous doctors wrote a letter.
Yeah.
There was a bottle of top shelf booze outside our store, outside our studio, with a card signed UPG 128 when I arrived one morning. They're talking off the record to the media. Now the Jefferson Council's writing commentary that more than 10% of the faculty is fearful of talking any politics of any capacity.
Yeah.
There was a time in our country where Democrats and Republicans, libertarians, socialists, God-fearing people, atheists, could all have a conversation at a booth at Tip Top Restaurant on Pantops over a stack of flapjacks and some coffee with cream about their beliefs. And when the flapjacks was cleared and the coffee was finished, everyone said, I may not agree with you, but I respect you, and they went their separate ways. Today, the 2025 version of that booth in Tip Top, it's siloed commentary, siloed ideology, and siloed conversation. I'm seeing this with people's social media habits. You have the socialists in Charlottesville sprinting to Blue Sky, where they can be on a third-rate social media platform where they only share their beliefs with other like-minded individuals and 300 characters or less. It's called Blue Sky. I compared Blue Sky to a social media platform communicating with people with tin cans and yarn, like we did as kids, like we saw the Three Ninjas do in that movie. The Three Ninjas, I love that movie. Tom Tom, Rocky Loves Emily. Who's seen that movie? You clearly have it. You would love it. Tin cans and yarn, they communicated it. The boys. That's what blue sky is. But people would rather be in a silo with like-minded people than be in a water cooler of everyone where we can agree and disagree and learn from each other.
Sadly, you see that pretty much everywhere.
And I don't even understand the mindset. There's someone that I frankly disagree with at just about everything he says. The leader of the Gillikin gang, Matthew Gillikin, the co-chair of Livable CVille. I disagree literally, I think, with 99.9% of what he says. But I read everything he publishes because I want to know what the people that disagree with, the people I disagree with, the complete 180 side of the spectrum, what they're saying, they're thinking, they're feeling.
Yeah.
Because I could potentially learn from them. Yeah. I could potentially understand their thought. I may disagree with it, but I find it fascinating.
And I don't find that I agree 100% with the people that I normally agree with. And sometimes I think one side or the other is mistaken, but you oftentimes miss the clues that lead you to the understanding that one side may have it wrong. And if you don't take a look at both sides, you're missing out on half the story.
Bingo. Especially as someone who's a content creator like Judah and I. We need to hear all the sides. John Blair, welcome to the program. Ginny Who says, Jerry and Judah, I bet that number, that 13% number, is way higher. It was already horrible when I taught in the early 2000s at UVA. Ginny Who, we love when you watch the program. Carol Thorpe watching the program. Stephanie Wells Rhodes says, so did Tony Bennett, but he did not say. Didn't stay. Love when Stephanie Wells Rhodes watches the program of the Interstate Service Company family. That's a soon-to-be 4-generation company. Carol Thorpe, the Queen of Jack Jewett, her photo on screen. Carol Thorpe looking fabulous in 2025. Love you, Carol Thorpe. Jerry, I'm not surprised at all about the fear of political retribution. When I chaired the Jefferson Area Tea Party from 2010 to 2023, I saw this sort of political fear firsthand. I would occasionally have new visitors come to a meeting or a candidate forum who would come up to speak with me after the event. After offering complimentary comments or asking a question about our group, I would invite them to sign up for our email list. Their facial expressions would turn to fear as they told me they worked at UVA or Charlottesville City government and feared for their job if people found out they were a part of the Tea Party. Furthermore, on 2 occasions, I had people offered to make a donation, and I said they could write a check to the Jefferson Area Tea Party. Instead, they pulled me a $20 bill saying they could not risk a paper trail in support of the Tea Party. Wow. The fear was simultaneously infuriating and very sad. Yeah. Carol Thorpe, fantastic comment from the Queen of Jack Jewett. I'll add some perspective to this. Vanessa Parkhill, you're on deck. Kate Schartz, welcome to the broadcast. Look at how the candidates for open seats, for generally elected seats, had to run. Meg Bryce with the school board seat that she ran for. Strategically, she had to distance herself from the Albemarle Republican Party by saying on multiple cases and multiple times that I am not running as a Republican, I'm running as an independent. And
that didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
And the exact same thing happened to a friend and churchmate of mine running for I think it was the Albemarle School Board. Oh man,
doesn't matter. Get to the point.
And he barely got off the starting block before people were saying, and he said the same thing. He said, let's have a non-political discussion. And they said, oh, that's exactly what Meg Bryce said. This guy is clearly a Republican. I mean, he didn't even, like I said, get off the starting block before the slurs started.
The chairperson of Albemarle County Republican Party, John Lowry, surprisingly just retired. On this Saturday, I'm on the mailing list. The Republican Party.
I couldn't even believe there was one in this area.
It's extremely organized. The Republican Party in Albemarle County. It's got some heavy hitters that are a part of it. I've sat in meetings. I was impressed with the people of influence, their clout, their notoriety, their strategic skill set, their fundraising ability, their commitment to the party. Extremely organized. Is it significantly behind the Charlottesville Democratic or Albemarle Democratic Party? Big time. Extremely big time. But there is one. Lowry surprises everyone with a recent resignation. He had been an influential member. We just saw him the other day, on Monday, John Lowry, an influential member of this party for decades. Twice he's tried to run for the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. I believe he's lived in Albemarle County since 1970, John Lowry. A fantastic guy, fantastic golfer you see playing at Farmington from time to time. Great guy. Surprising resignation. Now on Saturday, they have to elect an interim chairperson that will lead the party through March of 2026, a year and change. You want to put that lower third on screen? I would not be surprised if Philip Andrew Hamilton is trying to corner that position of Albemarle County chairperson. I would not be surprised if Steve Harvey, friend of the program, has the coffee shop north of town by the Coles, right? Next to the Holly Mead Town Center. If Steve Harvey wants a role as chairperson of the Albemarle County Republican Party. Both of them very active, both of them very youthful, both of them proud Republicans. You can make a legitimate argument Albemarle County right now is more prime for Republican momentum than ever before because of what's happened with Youngkin taking the governor's mansion and with Trump winning in overwhelming capacity the White House. The election in Virginia, the popular vote, much closer than people anticipated. Ours got way more votes than they have in years past. The Commonwealth is purple. Albemarle County, I'm not going to call it purple. It's certainly very blue, but it wasn't the type of blue it was 5 years ago. My vote, and I hope they hear this. I hope this person hears this. If there's an opportunity for, and I want to make sure I have her name right, her last name right. If there's an opportunity for, I'm literally looking it up on my phone, for Jamie Bogdanich to be the interim chairperson of the Albemarle County Republican Party, she would be a fantastic leader. Fantastic leader. The party needs new, young blood. Nancy Muir, the vice chair, leading the process to elect an interim leader. If it was up to me, and I don't know if she wants to do it, this is just one man with a platform and a microphone. Jamie Bogdanich would make a fantastic leader of that party, ladies and gentlemen. I hope she hears that. John Blair watching the program. I know an engineering professor, Judah, his photo on screen. I know an engineering professor at Virginia Tech, and they've made the following statement. The engineering school is heavily Republican in both students and faculty, but the administration has made it clear that Republican beliefs are not welcome on campus at Virginia Tech. The professors and students just do not talk politics. I imagine the same is true at UVA. The engineering school is Republican-leaning in both faculty and students, but they simply do not talk politics at UVA. Imagine where I've heard this at the hospital. I'm not going to say who it was. We've had people that come into this studio, into this office on a weekly basis. You know exactly who it is. You should not dox them. They have told us face-to-face that their wives that work at the hospital system are afraid to talk about their politics for fear of retribution from their coworkers. So they work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and they just bite their tongue when anything ideology, anything rights, marriage, anything abortion, anything guns, anything politics come up. They just bite their tongue, keep their head down, and say nothing.
And that's a good point. It's not just politics. It's not just talking about who you want to vote for. It can infiltrate every part of what you talk about.
My point indeed, exactly. You want to unpack that even more. Imagine working a job 40, 50, 60 hours a week. How many people in the world love their jobs? Okay, I have this conversation with my wife all the time. I love what I do. There's few things I'd rather do in my life than what I do 50, 60 hours a week. I've made a company and tailor what I do 50 to 60 hours a week around what I love to do. It's taken me, it's 17 years in May. We have been self-employed, 17 years. It's taken a while to get to this point, but 17 years of doing it. Few people in the world will raise their hand and say 95% of their life, even 90% of their life. Hell, few people will raise their hand and say 80% of their professional life, I love what I do. I don't even want to ask Judah the question, what percentage of his life does he love what he does, for fear of what his answer will be. Okay? He's openly says there are times that he loves his job. There are many times he despises it. Most people do not like what they do. Imagine doing something 40, 50, 60 hours a week, the thing you do most in life, not liking what you do, and then being surrounded by coworkers and bosses that pretty much force you to zipper your mouth and keep your beliefs from being heard in a professional setting.
Or worse, agree with them.
Think about that.
Just to keep yourself safe.
Think about the person that is working a job 60 hours a week and hates it, and then compounds that job hatred with the fact they cannot talk about politics, marriage, sexual reproduction, abortion, guns, taxes.
Yeah, because any one of those,
church, religion,
any one of those might identify you,
bingo,
as one side or the other.
If Bryce and your friend from church get labeled as Republicans and conservatives and the boogeyman just by saying, oh, let's have free-flowing discussion, imagine what will happen of you if you have the conversation, oh, I believe in the right to bear arms. You will not only be labeled the boogeyman, you will have the boogeyman carved into your locker with a knife when you're not looking.
Potentially.
That is the world we live in today, and that is
unacceptable from either side.
Disheartening at best. Elliot Harding watching the program. I was 25 when I was chair of the Albemarle County Republican Party. I love Elliot Harding. Elliot, you should come on the program again. You and I will get together for a beer. Kate Shart says, Jamie, I got to make sure I got her name is. Kate, you make sure I gave Jamie props. Jamie heard I gave her props. Jamie Bogdanich. That's who the interim chair should be. She says Jamie is the best. I was so impressed with Jamie. So impressed with her. I sincerely mean that. Elliot Harding, you need to come back on the program. I will reach out to you. We will get that salvage beer. He says, I was 25 when I was the chairperson of the Albemarle County Republican Party. I came in just as Trump was first running for president. We tried new stuff, moved events to incorporate younger folks, happy hours, events in new vineyards and breweries. The biggest issue is the skepticism that multi-decade members have to those who are new to the fold. Younger members have some different viewpoints on things, which I'd hope a second Trump win would help folks realize is generally okay. Big tent, not small. The best advice I can give as someone who sat in those meetings when I gave thought of running for the Scottsville district seat of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, I seriously had the approval of management, approval of my better half to run for the Scottsville district seat against Mike Pruitt, who ran unopposed. Love Mike Pruitt. Great guy. We would have beaten Mike Pruitt. We lived in Glenmore where there was 900 rooftops committed to backing our campaign, and the campaign we were going to run was going to resonate with the town of Scottsville, where we would have cornered that market and we would have gotten 25% of the vote in the Mill Creek voting block. We would have won that race with this platform. And then our second son legitimately did not sleep for 7 straight months. My wife and I, for 7 straight months, did not have a night of sleep. The extent of the sleep that we got for 7 straight months was maybe a 90-minute stretch at a time. Do you understand what it is like to go 7 months where you're only sleeping for 90 minutes a night? It is a form of human torture. Legitimately. Judah didn't want to be around me. My wife and I didn't want to be around each other. Our oldest son was like, what the heck is going on? You couldn't do a campaign and be away from home even more. It would not have personally worked for us.
Yeah.
Sitting in those meetings, I saw the same resistance to a millennial and younger, their perspective. But I'm going to cut to the chase. The old way of doing things is not the right way, because look at the results that have been produced. Look at the results that have been produced. Nothing. No results. Who's the last Republican to serve in Albemarle County? Was it Ken Boyd in the Rio District? That's a great question for Queen of Jack Jewett, Carol Thorpe. I believe it was Ken Boyd, the financier in the Rio District, the financial planner. Lonnie Murray watching the program. He's responding to Vanessa Parkhill. I need to get to Vanessa Parkhill's comments first so I can have some perspective for Lonnie's comments. Vanessa says, Steve Harvey would serve the area very well as Republican Party leader. Lonnie Murray responds to Vanessa Parkhill, Steve Harvey was extremely dishonest in his supervisor campaign. Without building up a more positive record in the community, I cannot see him as a viable candidate. Lonnie Murray is pointing to Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, I know extremely well, has come on the show multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, Lonnie Murray is saying he was dishonest when he ran against Ann Malik in the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors race. And some would say he was misrepresenting some statistics, mainly, specifically, Lonnie Murray, if memory serves correct, the tax on water, how water was being managed in the county. He also, uncomfortably for me when I was here, was very aggressively politicking and campaigning against Ann Malik, who in a lot of ways, who is a grandmother. It made me uncomfortable sitting here when we did that Ann Malik Steve Harvey debate, which is unfortunate. Elliot Harding says Robert Tracy was the last countywide, and Chip Harding his uncle as sheriff before that. Carol Thorpe said Ken Boyd after Rodney Thomas and Dwayne Snow lost re-election bids. Ken Boyd in the Rio District. Lonnie Murray says, as a Democrat, I feel our party is stronger with viable opposition. When there is opposition, you can have vibrant and honest discussions about policy. Lonnie Murray, well said.
Yeah.
And frankly speaking, I would imagine the Albemarle County Democratic Party and the Charlottesville Democratic Party is going to be energized and charged after seeing what's happened in the governor's race with Youngkin and the presidential with Trump. There is nothing that will drive more engagement and improvement for anything in life than failure. I am at my best, personally and professionally, when I fail in the most recent short term. I am at my worst when I'm riding the coattails and the momentum of success. When I ride the coattails and momentum of success, which we have, I become bloated, fat, comfortable, conceited, arrogant. When I'm failing, I become nimble, aggressive. I pivot. I think differently. I'm challenged.
Yeah.
I would rather, in any sport, play someone that is way better than me and lose than play someone worse than me and beat their ass.
Oh, yeah.
Any day. Ann Blair, welcome to the program. Logan Wells Kalelo, thank you for watching the show. What a day for a content creator on the I Love CVille Network. Judah Wickower is invigorated. He's fired up. Look at that invigoration from Judah on screen. Look at that invigoration right there. The level of intensity from the jack of all wits. What's your intense face?
My intense face? It's probably not very intense to most people. It's probably me just focusing down on something.
I've seen your intense face before.
I'll probably have a pen in my mouth. Probably look something like this.
Philip Dow says this, I hate to say this today because of political beliefs. I'm embarrassed to say I'm a graduate of the University of Virginia. I was having this conversation with somebody else. The University of Virginia today is completely different than the University of Virginia I first saw in 2000 when I arrived as a first year in Dabney, 101 Dabney. Shannon Maranzano, my roommate. And it's certainly different from the University of Virginia my dad went to from 68 to 72. Almost unrecognizable from 2000 to now. E.G. Williams watching the program. Respectfully, do you all not feel that the game is the same, but the roles would be reversed in a heavily conservative community? Help us unpack that, Judah Wickhauer. E.G. Williams watching in Tennessee, I believe.
Say that again?
He says, respectfully, do you all not feel that the game is the same, but the roles would be reversed in a heavily conservative community?
Oh, I'm sure it generally is.
Unpack it, what he's saying right there.
He's saying if this were a community that largely votes Republican,
Fluvanna County, Orange County, Nelson County, Greene County.
then you would have the same situation, just reversed, where one party is largely in control, the other party is largely ineffectual, and it can be comforting to keep your views to yourself if you're a member of the the lesser faction. And yeah, I don't disagree. I'm sure that's true in a lot of places, and I'd rail against them just as much as I would against a situation like that here.
The best ecosystem and the best community is one where we are equal on both sides of the aisle and can have conversations about our beliefs from either side of the aisle, and then finish by having a little bourbon or some ice cold Minutemen or a stack of flapjacks and a coffee from Tip Top, and then go on our way.
Because everybody acknowledges the fact that they're all there for the betterment of the community.
And I would bet you a C-note, I bet you a hundy spot, that most in the community are centered aisle. And it's the few in the community that are dividing the community. I'll say it again. I would bet you in a 300,000 person region called Central Virginia that the very large majority of Central Virginia, 300,000, are center aisle in their beliefs. They come from a golden rule mindset. But that very large majority is being divided by the very small minority. John Blair on LinkedIn, when he has comments, I read them on air. JM, think about this. In 2021 in Virginia and 2024, people on the left were in shock. But when you create a climate of fear of dialogue, don't be surprised when people who don't say a word about politics simply keep their heads down and vote Republican like a clock. That's what happened with Trump. The Trump win happened for a number of reasons. It happened, one, because Joe Biden's term has been a disaster. It happened, two, because the Democratic Party at the national level was dishonest with the American voters. They pushed Biden as if he was mentally capable. And we saw in 2024, during his competition, during his campaigning against Trump, that Biden was not mentally there. He was not coherent. Then they bamboozled voters and their Democrats, their base, by sliding Harris in at the last minute without really opening it up. The kingmakers try to push Harris and not saying, let's open it up for everybody. Okay? And when they pushed Harris, they realized, whether you want to admit this or not, I'm going to cut to the chase. They realized that Harris is frankly not a very intelligent person. And we saw the faux pas and the mental slips on multiple occasions. Most specifically when she went on The View and she said, I wouldn't change a damn thing about Joe Biden's term. I would mimic everything. When given a second chance to correct that statement, she didn't correct it. She was a prompter reader. A prompter reader that clearly was going to be puppeted by some other puppeteers. Who those puppeteers would be, I don't know. Some say Pelosi. Who the puppeteers would be? Some say the Obamas. I don't know. But they lost the trust of Americans by doing it that way, and that's why Trump wins in overwhelming capacity.
I think to John Blair's point, it was also the effect of what we were talking about with the universities, and the fact that a lot of people are just afraid to voice their opinions, their views, and show off their politics, which leads to things like exit polls and other political polls showing one person far ahead, because people voting for the other side are not talking about it.
Ginny Who says John Blair hit the nail on the head, or as I like to say, John Blair hit the nose on the head. And that's when Judah corrects me over there. John also says, JM, the
he
last
hit the death nail on the head.
John Blair also says the last GOPer in Albemarle County was Robert Tracy, as Commonwealth's attorney from 2015 to 2019. Elliot Harding and John Blair all over this. Both you guys are political virtuosos. Vanessa Parkhill, I once saw an interview with Michelle Obama where she talked about the notion that most of us want similar things but differ about how we proceed toward meeting those goals. 100%.
Yeah.
Yancey, I've said it for decades, they keep dividing us into smaller and smaller groups and then allowing them to put us against each other, and we allow it. Kevin Higgins, what exactly is President Ryan's role in this fiasco with UVA Health in our athletic department? I feel he's getting a free pass. What is Jim Ryan's role?
Keep your head down at this point.
Jim Ryan militarized the state police and pepper sprayed students.
I don't know if he did.
Jim Ryan has led a university that is bloated with DEI salaries. He's got an athletic director embattled that just got a 29% raise and $1.4 million in guaranteed compensation and is now leading an underachieving department until March of 2030. He's got a health system that is on the cusp of...
that he's defended basically without even bothering to listen to the complaints.
What the heck is going on here? Where's the report of the murder of the 3 football players and how it was handled? Seriously.
Yeah.
What's going on with the fraternity and Greek life? And why it's being targeted by the administration? Why can't team members speak up with what they say or believe? Good night. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Next topic on the talk show, Judah Whitcower, what do we got?
Let's see. Movie theaters, UVA hoops, Verve.
Okay, first, I highlighted this. Mark your calendars for next Wednesday. The Executive Vice President of Development for Subtext is coming on the program to talk about the Verve. It's an apartment, multiple apartment towers that are being built on Stadium Road in the city of Charlottesville, over 729 square feet, 729,000 square feet, over 460 apartment units, more than 1,300 beds, and a boatload of commercial space. This Executive Vice President of Development is coming on the show next Wednesday to talk about this project.
Will this bring down the price of apartments?
Could it create a glut of multifamily, a type of housing that may potentially already be soft? Maybe. Especially as second years in a couple years are going to be offered an opportunity to live on grounds or suggested or instructed to live on grounds permanently. Second years. What that's going to do to multifamily, who knows? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a developer, if you're thinking about building any kind of multifamily right now, I would pump the brakes, dude. Pump the brakes, dude. Next Wednesday, we'll talk about it. We talked basketball already. So is the last topic theater?
Theater and Darden Towe, I think.
Darden Towe, pickleball courts. There's a brouhaha brewing right now. The picklers want more pickleball at Darden Towe. The tennis players want the tennis courts to persevere at Darden Towe. Who's going to win? The picklers or the tennis players? The traditionalists or the innovators? If I put my money on something, those courts at Darden Towe are going to get lined for pickleball, and the tennis players are just going to have to deal with the fact that the tennis courts have some pickleball lines on it. Book it. Mark it down. What do you call those things where you get people to sign up to support something?
Sign up petition.
There's petitions on both sides going on right now. The picklers versus the tennis players.
Who's got the strongest rackets?
Who's got the best forehand? Who's got the best overhead slam? The picklers or the tennis players? The winner gets the lines on Darden Towe.
Blood on the courts.
This is literally something local government is talking about on the dais during meetings. I want to put that in perspective. My money's on the picklers. The next topic, ladies and gentlemen, it's the last one on the show. Alamo is laying people off left and right. Deep Throat holds us accountable, and he says they are not franchises in Alamo. These are all corporate owned. He gives us the perspective that Alamo right now is owned by Sony. Sony bought it last year, and they're the ones that are terminating people. They're terminating people at the ticket checking level, at the serving those delicious milkshakes at Alamo. I love those milkshakes. Those nachos, damn good. And at the corporate C-suite, upper management level. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 90 days, we have seen Violent Crown on the downtown mall on the cusp of collapse. And then Alamo, arguably
I would say on the cusp of being kicked out.
Dude, the Violent Crown on the downtown mall is not operating in the black right now. Okay. Maybe they're on the cusp of getting kicked out, but they have a lease. And I would bet you a lot of money that downtown movie theater is not operating in the black. Okay, I would bet you that none of the movie theaters in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, Regal Stonefield, Alamo Fifth Street Station, and Violent Crown Downtown Mall are operating in the black. And the market leader of those three, the one with the most share, was Alamo Fifth Street Station. And it's laying people off. Laying people off. I want viewers and listeners to take a look at those movie theaters on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Hell, take a look at those movie theaters on a Friday or Saturday during the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock showings, their marquee showings. You're talking half-empty theaters. My family and I, we moved from Keswick to Ivy. We bought, I've told this story multiple times, 5 televisions, including one that was 75 inches from Best Buy. Completely brand new surround sound and installed by the Geek Squad and Spencer Pushard of Spencer. Spencer Pushard's company is fantastic. If you need anybody to install your audio-visual, Spencer Pushard's the guy you should use. Soup to nuts, those 5 TVs, completely brand new, 175, 2 in the 50-inch range, couple in the 40-inch range. All of them with movable mounts. Extend, move them. Hidden wires, surround sound speakers on 2, less than $4,000, $4,000. I sit on my couch in my boxer briefs, drinking a Minute Man, eating a glass container of Hershey Kisses, leaving the wrappers in a trash can next to my Lazy Boy with the recliner out, the Minute Man right next to me as well, watching every single movie I can watch in the movie theater. Why would I go and pay $19 and $17 for popcorn, $16 for Juju beans and some snow caps, and $13 for a large Coca-Cola, or $17 for a Minute Man that's 20 ounces at the Alamo? Come on now. Movie theaters. And here's the question you got to ask. Once these 3 theaters, this business model collapses, what's the impact it has on Charlottesville and Albemarle County? What's the impact it has on rents in Stonefield and Fifth Street Station of the downtown mall when the associated and neighboring businesses, their rent structure is tied to having a movie theater next to it? What's the impact it has on vacant, massive, end cap, trophy spaces in shopping centers? Who's going to rent those? Who's going to rent an effing movie theater? What do you convert a movie theater to? It's cement structures that have slopes downs in their theaters and have no windows. They have no windows. They're cement structures and caves, dark caverns. What do you convert those into? It's not flat ground. That's a story that should be talked about. On tomorrow's edition of the I Love CVille Show, 12:30, ladies and gentlemen, the I Love CVille Show, we'll talk about assessments in Albemarle County upticking. Your tax bills, which you're going to get in the mail at the end of January, are going up. And if you're in the Samuel Miller District, on average, 7% higher than last year. And across the board, is it 5.6%, Judah? Is it 5.6%?
It's 5.1 on average.
5.1% on average. Albemarle County homeowners, their assessments have uptick. At a time when credit card and floating debt is an all-time high, at a time when grocery bills are at an all-time high, at a time when gasoline prices still have not dropped since COVID, certainly not to the level they were during the pandemic or prior to the pandemic, at a time when every piece of our life is expensive, Albemarle County is going to give us 5% more on your homes. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille Show.